Happy Tuesday and welcome back to Real Estate Mindset. Today we're going to talk about the great melt up and we're going to try to debunk it, and we're going to let you guys decide whether or not we're in the midst of the next great bull run, or are the people saying that just delusional and naive, maybe something in between. And we're going to end the video by talking about the most important thing of all: how do you guys make money over the next 4 years, starting with the melt up. Silver almost closing around $35, up year to date 45%. Gold sitting at $2,761, up 39% in just 1 year. NASDAQ sitting at 18,573. Mitch, that sucker's up a whopping 41.35% in just 1 year. Bitcoin, Mitch, take a look at this. This sucker is at $67,502 as of the recording of this video. Japanese yen is sitting at 151.15. Mitch, why are prices still going up?
The term melt up is complete nonsense. It's nothing more than a term that is designed to fit a narrative. If you can't build a math model around it, that proves the point that it's a term designed to fit a narrative. Now, if you came to me and said, well, the volatility is to the upside and the call ratio is greater than the puts, now we can start having a conversation. But until you can do that, so those who are the false prophets of the world that are just shooting their mouth off without the benefit of intellect, until you can do that and stand toe to toe and tell somebody honestly you have a math model to back up your mouth, you are part of the problem. You are a false prophet. And as I've said before, markets go up because markets do what they do. They also go down when markets are overvalued. Now, apply some volatility to that, and we can have a conversation.
Well said, sir. Segment 2, debt and debauchery. U.S. national debt for 2024 sitting at $35.46 trillion. Now, I also wanted to point out, and I put this arrow right here, in just about 4 years, the national debt has gone up 27% or $7.56 trillion. This represents sinister spending from the government. Federal deficit for 2024 sitting at $1.83 trillion. And I put 2 arrows right here, and I asked the question, why are we spending so much money, so much deficit, being we're not even in a recession? The government has completely lost control with their spending. I also put an arrow here pointing down to the great financial crisis to show you guys they spent less money during the great financial crisis. So again, I say, why so much deficit spending? We're not even in recession, right? The debt to GDP right now is sitting at about 120%. Now, starting to the left of this graph, and this graph goes back 100 years, the last time we had debt to GDP close to where we're at right now was World War II. So when we go all the way to the right, I'm asking the question again, sitting at 120%, what war are we fighting that would justify this type of spending? I also put lines here to here, and I put low, not the same, to remind you guys, be careful who you're listening to. A lot of people are saying the consumers like the 70s and 80s. No, we're not. Not only we see that the debt to GDP, we see that PE ratio, wage, debt, savings rate. We are nothing like the consumers in the 70s and 80s, and we don't even have a government that's closely related. Talking about the debauchery, I want you guys to remember why the housing market has not crashed yet. One of the reasons is something called mortgage-backed securities. On an Operation Twist is what I want to point out. That's from this little slash to this little slash. You guys see that arrow right there? From October 2012 to May 2014, mortgage-backed securities went up, and I put bullet points here, $820 billion in 19 months. That's a 98% increase. And my question is why? There was no recession. Why did they do this to us? And why do we allow them to take over our housing market? This, what you're seeing here, this debauchery is the birth of Wall Street taking over our housing market. CEOs during this time, this Operation Twist, you see that 820 billion? Several billions of dollars was paid to CEOs in the form of bonuses. Think about that. Let's not forget the unfunded liabilities. Again, you guys, debauchery. We're sitting at this report. And by the way, this is from Adam on Substack. Go take a look at this report. It is amazing. The unfunded liabilities, we were underestimating, Mitch. It's sitting at $175 trillion. This is the most important financial number in the world and something that the government came up with. Now, the way they got to $175 trillion in unfunded liabilities, meaning we owe this money in the future, but we don't have it. Medicare Part A accounts for 15.1 trillion. Medicare Part B, 99.5 trillion. Medicare Part D, 22.1 trillion. Social Security needs 68.8 trillion. We don't want to put you in a situation to trust us. Just use the math. This is an executive summary for 2023 in a financial report made by and for the United States government. And here's what I wanted to show you guys. Let me zoom in here because this is shocking. It's not like the government doesn't know what's going on. This one bullet point is all we need to read. The debt to GDP ratio was approximately 97% at the end of 2023. So it's already showing you how much worse it's already got in less than 1 year. Under current policy and based on this report's assumptions, it is projected to reach, sit down, 531%. Shame on you, United States government. By 2098, the debt to GDP ratio indicates that current policy is unsustainable. This is from the government. Mitch, given the overwhelming debt and the overwhelming debauchery, are we really in a melt up? And is this really a bull run that we're facing?
Two different issues, one of which is what the market is doing is what the market is going to do. However, if you go back to that debt to GDP chart, recognize that the debt to GDP does not include the unfunded liabilities. We've said that the unfunded liabilities are somewhere around 125 trillion based on what we've seen. I have seen a report that says it's as high as 225 trillion. It doesn't matter. It isn't going to be paid back. Over and above that, again, recognize this is important. When somebody tells you the debt to GDP, that only includes the US national debt and does not include the unfunded liabilities. They're claiming it's 120% right now on the US national debt, not having anything to do with the unfunded liabilities. Plug in the unfunded liabilities and come up with the real number. So people are floating numbers all over the place. But again, the debt to GDP on its own means nothing. The question is, what else did you lever up?
You know what's interesting, Mitch? If you're 32 years or younger and you're an adult, you've never in your entire adult life gone through a recession. So maybe these financial advisors that are saying to still buy are just too young because their entire adult life, the market's only gone up. But why do you think that these financial planners and that mainstream and the stock markets, why do you think that they're not taking these things into consideration and also an incoming recession?
Okay, so the stock market and the traders have one job to do, and that's take other people's money. So how do they do that? Well, they create a possible spoof. They can drive the market down in order to pick up shares and drive the market back up. That's what the big players can do. The small traders who are adept and understand what's going on and can use different math models to get there. I can tell you what the market's going to do in the next 5, 10, 15 minutes. I can tell you within a week, within 75% accuracy, what the market is going to do. I wouldn't dare say that this is the absolute of what it's going to do tomorrow or a month from now, because it's not relevant. You have to ride the wave of what it is that you're seeing. There's no 100% guarantee in the markets. The job of the market is to take other people's money. It's the job of the traders from one bank to take the other bank's money. That looks after the issue with what the market is doing. With regard to the idea of the market's at an all-time high and you think it's going to go up for another 10 years, let's stop this nonsense here and now. Alpha, beta, delta, gamma, theta, rho, verta, voma, vana, heteroscedasticity, anything you want to deal with. If you can't name the algebraic expressions, lay it out, tell me what it is, give it to me in the Excel format, and have an honest discussion with me, then you know nothing. And the idea that you stand in front of the public and say, well, I will think the market's going to go up for the next 10 years. Who gives a crap what you think? The question is, what can you prove? And you can't prove anything. Therefore, by definition, you're a false prophet. You're selling something, just like the mainstream media. You got something for sale somewhere under the hood. And if you tell somebody I'm selling it and you're being honest, et cetera, that's perfectly fine. But don't sit there and tell the public the market's going up for the next 10 years. You're an idiot. You're wrong. This is going to stop. You can't say on one hand that the volatility in the market is clearly going up. Yeah, I agree. For right now, it's going up to the upside. However, when it hits a double top, look out below. When you look at the debt to GDP and put in real numbers that bring you up closer to 175% debt to GDP, including unfunded liabilities, we got something to talk about. But until you can get your act together and tell the truth, you are a useful idiot. You're preaching because you're looking at somebody else's research and you don't have the mental capacity to stand up and get your own.
I'm glad you're on our team, sir. I definitely am. Now, Mitch, let's talk about how the debt and debauchery has already started collapsing some communities because of the reckless spending habits. And because those reckless spending habits, don't forget, you guys, those are passed on to us as Americans. Let's listen to just 1 minute of this video.
I'm here tonight to answer questions to the best of my ability.
East Orange School Superintendent Christopher Irving faced scrutiny and an emotional crowd last night during a scheduled town hall meeting that came on the heels of the district announcing it's laying off 75 personnel, including teachers, counselors, and other support staff in their schools.
Due to having to console both my 9 and 11-year-old daughters who were distraught because of what you guys did last night. These people are part of our families.
What are you going to do to address the social emotional needs of the students in East Orange? You're getting rid of all the social workers, and it's very important that these children have somebody that they feel safe to talk to.
When teachers learned of the layoffs, so many called out that the district called a half day yesterday and again today.
Calling a half day at 7:12 in the morning, as we are already on our way.
The district told us it's facing an $8 million shortfall, saying costs have gone up while state funding from the school funding formula, known as S2, has remained flat.
This article came out 4 hours ago. I wanted to get something fresh, Mitch, to explain to people, you guys, things are already collapsing. You just have to look under your nose where you're walking. Montgomery County Board of Developmental Disability announces program cuts and layoffs as a result of an $8.9 million budget cut for 2025. That is absolutely insane. They have fired 62 full-time staff positions. There is hope, you guys. Look at what North Dakota is doing. Now, this article came out yesterday. Do you guys see? This is all relevant, recent information, and we have the math. North Dakota voters could end property taxes. Say what? Yeah, because it's unconstitutional and people are starting to figure that out. And pour gas on the spark of a growing tax revolt. Things are changing and people are becoming aware. Mitch, can you explain how we can get from near all-time record stock market, right? Near all-time record gold, Bitcoin, and yet how property taxes and taxes have absolutely destroyed and annihilated companies. How do we connect those things?
Well, gold, silver, precious metals, you can even make the case for copper, platinum are going up. Bitcoin is going up as a direct result of the fraud and the debauchery. The memo you just saw with the school districts, or that little short video clip, I want to point out something. None of that would happen. And none of that emotional outpouring would happen if people understood. Let's go back just to 2016. If they understood how to look at a balance sheet, and the balance sheet had notes, and the balance sheet had what's called a bond schedule that shows what bonds are coming due, what was done, and it all ties together. And then they have what's called the sources and uses. We need more money for the following reasons. The problem is we have yet, including right to this very second, since we have started, we have yet to see a single school district who has come forth with that information. It's just the opposite. They're purposefully hiding the bond schedules to cover up the fraud. It's happening everywhere. You're seeing banks involved in it. You're now seeing school districts just give us $1 billion. Frisco, Rockwall, Itasca, give us more money. Give us more money. Yet you have no sources and uses? How much more fraud are you going to hide? The implicit guarantee that you think exists does not exist. And I've got a document that Travis has his hands on. We'll decide what we're going to do with that shortly. But inside that document, is enough information, a handful of questions to destroy the school districts because they can't answer the questions. It's not my job to take their deposition. I'm just going to push it out into the public because clearly what we're doing is having a major impact to the point where other people are now saying, yeah, we got a problem. These taxes have got to go because they can't be paid back. 37% of the households are bankrupt or going to lose their home. And you cannot burden the rest of the existing population that doesn't get hit in that 37% with what that 37% would normally be paying. It's over, as we've said. Therefore, it has to be made right, and you either walk it down or the market will do it for you, and you will have a greater depression. And to the morons that are out there says, well, but inflation will come down. You can have inflation and deflation at the exact same time. You want to see deflation? Go and look at the used car market. Okay, these things can exist on the same planet, and that's what causes chaos. Instability is chaos. When you commit fraud, you create instability. When you look at the GDP and it's the wrong number because you're not using the unfunded liabilities, you create instability. You are a fraudster. And the bottom line is, all these people that are involved in this, banks, attorneys for the central appraisal districts, you know that the law is being broken, and yet you choose to do nothing about it. To you attorneys that know that the law is being broken and choose to do nothing about it, you violated states' laws, and you violated the US Constitution, and you violated federal laws. Protecting the guilty is your problem. Everybody's got a right to a defense. But when you are the attorney, you know the laws are being broken as an officer of the court, congratulations, you've got a problem. So the fraudsters are running rampant. The registered professional advisors, who according to Chuck Saling's deposition, can make a determination on a property value based on 50 hours of education, are useful idiots. There's an awful lot of industrial manipulation here. There's industries that are created for useful idiots. When you're breaking the law, registered professional advisors, and you don't even know what the law requires of you for your job, if you were to be deposed, you would lose within 3 questions. I would ask you to stand back and recognize what you're doing and how much money you're stealing from the public, and then stand in front of the public and tell them why you don't belong in jail. And my point is, you've committed perjury. The members of the ARB panels, you've got a problem. RPAs, you have a problem. Chief appraisers, deputy chief appraisers, those who signed an oath, you've got a serious problem. The wheels are coming off straight across the United States. We've got it in LA, Chicago, Texas, Itasca School District. One's coming up right now on Rockwell. It hit the press like 5 minutes ago. These problems are real, and these debts are real, and you created the fraud. You allowed it to happen. Explain to the public. I was dead serious. Stand in front of the public with me. We'll have a debate. And you explain to them exactly why you don't belong in jail.
Let's move on to segment 4, 17 indicators suggesting a global recession is near. Starting at the 10-year treasury, because don't forget, you guys, the world owns our debt, but the treasury is sitting at 4.2% on the 10-year, which obviously impacts residential mortgage rates, which have exploded as of yesterday to 6.82%. According to Zero Hedge's article that was released today, October 22nd, here are 17 global recession indicators, starting with number 1, tighter credit conditions. Number 2, increasing repo fails. Number 3, volatility in the Japanese bills market. Number 4, near-term forward spread inversion. 5, swap spread compression. 6, term SOFR and Euro LIBOR calendar spread inversion. Number 7, 2 and 10 yield curve inversion. Number 8, hours worked total compensation falling. 9, falling oil prices. 10, factory gate prices falling. 11, ISM survey negative sentiment. 12, U of M consumer sentiment survey negative. 13, increasing credit card debt and delinquency. 14, contango in the WTI futures curve. 15, falling value of loans to non-financial corporations. 16, diverging GDP and GNI. 17, labor hoarding. Mitch, really important question. I know it's really hard to answer this because there's so many different people with so many different goals, but how can people make money, highest probability to make money over the next 4 years?
Okay, before we get to that last list that you read off, those are technical indicators that the large funds would be looking at for problems. I just wanted to say that it's much easier for people, mom and pop, to understand nothing else matters except the median household income. And we've pounded the table on that since day one. You don't make money by being foolish with your money. If I save money, then I have that money in my pocket. If I make foolish investments, I have a chance of losing that money. And what we're doing here since day one is using the math to help people understand where they are in the cycle, where they are within their own community, and not to do anything that's foolish. So it's not what you make, it's what you save. The more you save is based on the knowledge you get, the better off of a position you are. False prophets that are out there will tell you, well, give us your money, buy this program, do this, do that. That isn't going to help you. That's not how you make your living. It's how much you save. When you can stand in front of an ARB panel, appraisal review board, and you can save yourself a couple $1,000s, whatever that amount happens to be, larger if you're commercial property, whatever you save is money in your pocket because they're creating fraud by taking it from you in the first place. That's what's important. When you're at an all-time high, the probability of a big reversal is much greater than the probability of a continued run.
Well said, Mitch. Let's end out now, and I want to read the viewers 2 paragraphs. Thomas Jefferson in 1816, I sincerely believe that the principle of spending money to be paid by posterity under the name of funding is but swindling futurity on a large scale. Loading up the nation with debt and leaving it to the following generations to pay is morally irresponsible. Excessive debt is a means by which governments oppress the people and waste their substance. No nation has the right to conduct debt for periods longer than the majority contracting it can expect to live. Hopefully that provided you guys some clearer value. And if you guys are out there investing in real estate or just living your life, you guys already know we wish you luck and we hope you win.